This is the second of 3 presentations where we highlight specific groups within the population of people that are associates within retained executive search firms. So these results were published and distributed to those that participated. It's sponsored by the Executive Search Research Consulting Group, which is on LinkedIn. It's got about 1,500 members. It serves the community of people that emphasize sourcing, really, that are associate level consultants in retained firms that may be doing this in an internal recruiting team, or may be doing this as a freelance or a contract researcher. So the ESRCG is doing research into each of these 3 communities this month, next month, the month after. This survey was done in the fall, October and November. We had a little over 200 participants. We aimed globally. We got a largest response from North America. And there were some people that responded that wanted the answer but really weren't appropriate for the survey, and we knocked those out. So they're not included in the results that we're covering here today. This is basically how it breaks out. Today we're going to be talking about the knowledge managers. That's the group in purple here on the right side of the pie chart. Last week we covered the name identifiers. Next week we'll be doing candidate developers. The knowledge managers, that's the blanket title. You might find someone called the director of research that's doing the same thing. There's a knowledge analyst title that you'll sometimes see on this role. It goes by a couple of titles, but at the end of the day, most of the people are called knowledge manager. And a knowledge manager, just for quick review, although if you are one, you already know this, it's sort of a combination of managing the firm's knowledge of what is going on in the market, as well as getting insights out of the information they have on hand of searches that are already underway. We did survey all groups, and here's just a little bit of a breakdown about the different types of roles. Knowledge managers, far and away, are the most established in their roles. They're generally in their firm longer than the other roles, and they've been in search a long time. Everybody's got a college degree when they're a knowledge manager, if not a master's degree. And they also skew a little bit higher in age and experience overall compared to name identifiers and candidate developers. The majority of associates in executive search work in what are the majority of the firms, which are relatively small ones. So you see here firms that they're 1 office, 2 offices, 2 to 4 are the majority of the firms. Knowledge managers tend to be in firms that are in that red and green zone, the larger firms, simply because you need a certain size of practice in order to support this emphasis. Here's another way to look at it: the number of partners or billers in the firm. Most are in relatively small, under 9 billers of the firm. Again, knowledge managers tend to be in the larger groups, the red, the green, and this brown color. And like you would expect with search, associates and knowledge managers included, for the most part, are working in firms that are emphasizing executive level and vice president level roles, and to some degree director level roles, but rarely anything lower than that. And just make sure we're all on the same page, most search firms are working sort of in this category of 50K and above minimum fee, and that's definitely where you find knowledge managers. So in small firms, the function of associates, whether that is a name identifier person or someone developing candidates or a knowledge manager, these are sometimes not even an official role. You may just have an owner and a couple of consultants, and then research is sort of handled as needed. For example, when I left Korn Ferry in my career, I went to a small firm where the founder sold the searches, consultants did all the work. They did their own name identification, developed their own candidates, managed the clients. In larger firms, this model is more prevalent. We have directors or partners or managing directors, whatever they're called, someone that is in charge of bringing in the business and making sure it's done. Then you have an associate of some kind. Sometimes they're called a junior consultant. And then depending on the firm, how the responsibilities of associates break out changes. In some, it's a centralized function in one office around the country or world. In others, you have a knowledge manager by practice or an associate in a specific practice. And in some, it's based in an office. For knowledge managers, they're usually attached to a particular industry practice, say a knowledge manager for industrials or a knowledge manager for financial services. We did ask a few questions of knowledge managers about their attitude toward the role. It's not generally a role that is on track to be partner, so to speak. It's a specialist role. So realistically, a knowledge manager in a search firm is thinking about perhaps greater responsibility or taking on a different kind of role as an associate. They're generally not even considering how they might become a partner one day. The skills, we asked them what skills are most important to you, and it really shouldn't come as a surprise that because a knowledge manager is focused generally by industry, that what they'd like to improve is their knowledge of the industry. Everybody in the world seems to have an increased interest in social media. For knowledge managers, it seemed to be about using that to gather additional information. Now, knowledge manager is the full-time job, 9 to 5, so to speak, or in search terms, maybe 8 to 6, 6:30. Every knowledge manager reported working at home in the evening, and they also reported working on the weekends. And as far as workload goes, your average knowledge manager is working on maybe 10 searches, somewhere between 7 and 12 searches. Knowledge managers do some other work besides search work, but in terms of touching and supporting searches, that range is 7 to 12. Here's a basic comp outlay for you. There's not a huge variability within knowledge managers. I would put it from about 65 to about 110, flirting right around that $75,000 range as an annual base salary. Most knowledge managers are eligible for a bonus and are expecting it. The bonus, in contrast to other associate roles, is largely about quality and company performance and a large degree of discretion from an office manager. We ask participants to choose any of these choices or all, whichever ones worked. Knowledge managers always know how they're being evaluated. They're experienced. Many of the other roles, like we surveyed name identifiers, and a large majority didn't even know how their bonus was calculated, and many didn't even know if they got a bonus. Bonuses for knowledge managers are generally paid annually, perhaps semi-annually, but that's really it. And bonuses for knowledge managers are generally relatively low, about 10%. The goal is 10 to 15% for the most part, and 5 to 10% is the realized bonus. Now, we asked folks about the kind of software they use in their firm, and I think this slide is a very important component to what's important for a knowledge manager to be effective in an organization. The group in orange here, the group in blue, these are softwares that are about relationships. So whether a firm is in search software or not is less the issue, and more about the fact that the software is not purely about company facts. It's about a system for facilitating relationship management with people. So as a knowledge manager is looking to add as much value as possible, while much of it is often emphasizing industry information, that's industry information is something a lot of other people can get, but tying that into a way to organize it for partners to access the relationships based on that is really the key. I just hit you up with some basic ideas. The second one that I would give about associates in general is the idea of specialization, but for a knowledge manager that's sort of natural. One key finding that was perfectly clear across all associates is the correlation of earning more for being specialized. What wasn't important is what the specialty was. We didn't see knowledge managers, for example, making more for working on financial service searches as they were on healthcare searches. That really didn't matter. What mattered is that somebody specialized in what. It didn't matter. So I threw some tidbits on here about what the group is, the Executive Search Research Consulting Group, and a little bit about my firm. We'll be doing another one of these presentations on candidate developers next week, and you can find the link on the website and on YouTube, and if you find my own website, you can get some details as well.